that's ridiculous to spend $800 for
just for that.
For that. But since I have it, I'm gonna just use it for that. That's really helpful. That way I don't have to keep remembering where's my iPad and running to get it.
BioCow in the chat room brought the one up, Allison. Medical insurance. That is one that I probably would do anyway.
Yeah, but that's required now. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I did it before it was required. I did it before it was cool.
So that just tells you how much you really care about you.
Yeah.
Versus your stuff.
Well, you know what? That's about right. Like, you know what? If I break the iPhone, it's not the end of the world.
Bad, but
I don't want to break it. Don't get me wrong. If I break myself, it is the end of my world.
Good point.
Quite literally, and that's interesting. So I was going to ask you about starting the video early, and you always say catch up. Well, it doesn't really catch up. The delay stays the same, right?
Well, no, but what happens is DiamondClub.tv has an automatic thing, and Sergeant Muffin is always trying to tweak it to make it start as soon as the video starts. There's a little bit of lag in it, noticing the scripts, noticing and stuff. So I'm trying to give them a little runway.
So it's not.
It's purely for live.
But it's not Alpha Geek?
Alpha Geek, Todd has been able to shave it down where it can start pretty close. Like I just need to give a little bit of buffer. Okay. And I'm sure Sergeant Muffin will get there too. It's just
we just thought
the YouTube APIs are notoriously awful.
But at least they change them frequently.
Yeah, exactly. So once if you haven't figured it out, don't worry, it'll change.
It'll change in 3 months. There you go.
Really?
My wife works there.
Nice disclaimer.
Come on, somebody needs to make a little musical jingle of that.
I am not saying. Oh shoot, that's my neighbor calling, and she doesn't know that I can't. She doesn't know what I do for a living.
If you had your Apple Watch on, you could.
No, she's got. I'm taking care of her cats. She wants to check in on the cats. It's perfectly reasonable.
Cat cam. We bought a couple of cats for Tesla.
I should get her a cat cam. She's barely. I think she has like dial-up internet. So.
Oh yikes.
Yeah.
Well, you just be not creepy at all and have it poke from your house.
Just run an Ethernet cable over. I'm sure she'd love that. The downstairs neighbor would love it too. All right. Are we ready?
It's going to be a serious show. Very serious.
Let's do this. Here we go.
When having tea with the Queen, you must remember 3 important things. 1. Pinky up. 2. Never wear a hat more audacious than hers. And 3. Make sure you wear your DTNS t-shirt. To become Queen appropriate, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, November 12th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Ms. Allison Sheridan, host of NosillaCast and Chit Chat Across the Pond. How are you, Allison?
I'm doing good. You know how you love to reach in the back and pull out old technology when somebody brings something up? How about an Edison cylinder?
Wow, I like those.
From your show 2 days ago, you were talking about that.
Those are nice. That's nice and thick.
My great-grandfather recorded his poetry on this, and I'm looking for a place to have it played back for me. And
I thought you were going to say your great-grandpa recorded his podcast on that.
Yes, it was a poetry podcast.
You are OG. Also joining us today, Lamarr Wilson, Internet Personality is what it says here. Is that your correct title, Lamarr?
I'm sorry, I can't see. Can you see me in this thing? Can you? Well, oh, sorry, that's my big iPad.
It's an iPad as big as your head.
and bigger. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good, man. YouTube.com/Lamarr Wilson. Of course, Twitter.com/Lamarr Wilson. Twitter.com/Podfeet for Allison Sheridan. And we're all going to talk about the iPad Pro because we all got our hands on one. And I say hands because it takes both. These things are ridiculously gigantic, but we'll give you our impressions of them and, at least in my case, them versus other options like Android, like Surface. In the meantime, we got some headlines to read. Let's get to it. The Windows 10 November update is here for Windows 10 users of all stripes with build 15.11. In fact, even beyond that, Microsoft is rolling out the new Xbox experience based on Windows 10 as well, which generally makes things faster and more controller-friendly. Windows 10 upgraders get some tweaks to the start menus, context menus, an option to make columns 4 medium tiles wide, and an increase on the limit of tiles from 512 to 2048. So they added a couple more blocks to the database database, I guess. Snap can also automatically resize like it used to in Windows 8. And Skype is now available as independent apps, one for messaging, one for voice, one for video. Windows Update for Business allows more control over the timing of updates now. And Windows Store for Business, Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 licenses can now activate this build of Windows 10 directly. And Microsoft says if you usually wait for the first service pack, this is it. This is the equivalent of that in this new, constantly updating Windows 10 universe.
They sure are smoking it here. I got to say, I am still jealous of the way Windows does the Windows snapping versus OS X. I know they just put it in El Capitan, but it's really bad. I really, really don't like it.
Yeah,
really
no, I don't like snap. I love snapping on OS or on Windows 10 and Windows 8 even.
I liked it on Windows 7. I liked it. The only thing I liked about Windows 7, but
that's right. It does go back to that. But yeah, so I upgraded today. It was a painless upgrade. And honestly, I mean, you can put some colors in your title bars now and stuff. It's got some under the hood fixes. It's fine. It's the service pack. It's safe to get into the waters now, friends. Go for it.
Well, the YouTube Music app is now out for Android and iOS, as long as you only care about the iPhone, because there is no iPad app. The app allows users to listen to music hosted on YouTube with ads. YouTube Red subscribers who pay $9.99 a month to get ad-free listening, offline access to songs, and the ability to play songs in the background. The app also creates playlists suited to your taste based on your YouTube activity.
And my wife works there. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever use this, to be honest, but I'm probably not the target market. I did play around with it a little bit, and it's a nicely done app. I like the idea of the mixtape. There's a mixtape option where it says, we'll look at your tastes and create a playlist for you. And if you've done a lot of playing of music on YouTube, it's likely to have a better idea of what you like.
So maybe Lamarr knows the answer. Does this have video in it, or is it just the music?
Oh, absolutely. It's by default video.
Oh, okay.
And they have a little switch at the top right where you can, like, say you're going to put it in your pocket, you can switch the video off and save that bandwidth. And,
that's perfect.
Yeah. So I had a chance to play with it, and I gotta say, and I don't mean to sound stereotypical here, but I'm only saying this because I know the YouTube audience after being around them. Teenage girls are going to eat this up, and that's what they're going after, because by and large they're the ones who listen to all their music comes from YouTube.
More girls than boys?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. It's crazy how much they share and talk about music on YouTube. I'm not saying boys don't, but I'm like the teenage girl population goes crazy. You know, the Bieber, the Bieber girls, the One Direction. They don't buy anything.
Bieber, they're over him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're showing your age, Lamarr.
I know, but yeah. As soon as I saw it, I said, "That's why they made it. They made this for the kids who can't grasp how Google Play Music looks or works, but they'll get YouTube Music.
Yeah,
because they get two options: video or just listen to it. I think it's genius. It's not for me, but I think it's genius for that audience.
Yeah, and it's clever the way they are able to do video as if it were music tracks, right? Mm-hmm. So there's one selected version of each song. They'll let you explore to see alternate versions that are uploaded to YouTube. But if you're wondering, like, how does it know which is the right one? And there's so many versions and people upload things without permission, etc. They seem to have handled that pretty smoothly, I think.
Yeah.
Firefox for iOS is out of testing and now available publicly. The app started testing in May with a public beta launching back in September. It supports Firefox accounts, bringing in bookmarks, history, tabs, and passwords. It also features search prediction, this visual tab management system, and incognito browsing, according to TechCrunch. App works on iOS 8.2 or newer. I feel like if you're a Firefox user, then this is going to be great if you have an iOS device. If you're not a Firefox user, I don't see anything here particularly compelling to make you switch from using Chrome or Safari.
You know, I like to switch browsers, though. I get in these fads where right now I'm in my Safari fad, but all of a sudden I'll just go, it's just bugging me. I'm going to go use Chrome for a while, and then I'll use Chrome for a while, and then I'll get bored with that. I'll go over and use Firefox. So I like having all the choices. It will never be natural. Like you've mentioned this just the other day, Tom, that the fact that you can't open a link and it goes right into Firefox. It's until they get that fixed, they're never going to get the traction that you might hope. You can't really immerse yourself in it, I don't think.
Yeah, in fact, it's even worse on iOS because like Google apps will sometimes open in Chrome, in the Chrome browser. There almost isn't a default browser in some way. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, Google, wait, nope, wrong story. The Verge reports Uber has signed a multi-year deal to license map and traffic data from TomTom for Uber's smartphone app. No financial details were made public. Uber has acquired some of Microsoft's mapping technology and engineers and began using Bing mapping cars to improve its existing maps.
So if you're wondering, they didn't get to buy the Nokia Wear service. This was their plan B, or maybe their plan C. I don't know.
Do you understand where is this map? Is it the map
in the Uber app? You'll see a map, and also for the drivers as well.
But so it's the map where I see the little cars driving around?
Yeah, and probably more important for the drivers, I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
Google announced Android Wear now supports cellular connections. The watch still needs to be paired with an active phone, but the phone doesn't have to be with you. When an Android Wear device moves out of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth range, it can automatically switch to the cellular connection and still use data and apps from the phone. LG's Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE will be the first Android Wear watch to take advantage of cellular support. U.S. customers can get the watch from $200 to $300 from AT&T with contract terms, etc., and for around $500 from Verizon with different prices for different contracts. Watch arrives in Europe, Asia, and Russia soon.
How long is the battery going to last?
Yeah, exactly. That is the question. If you're really relying on this a lot, it's going to eat your battery up.
Yeah, that's the one problem. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't love it. I would love it, but at the sacrifice of battery. An Apple security certificate expired yesterday, causing many users to receive error messages preventing them from opening apps they had downloaded from the Mac App Store. Apple issued a new certificate with an expiration date of 2035. Customers receiving the errors would have to re-authenticate with the Mac App Store to fix the problem. The certificates are used to prevent unauthorized applications and combat malware.
All right, making a note here for 2035 episodes. Keep an eye on...
I am so glad you put this story in the lineup, Tom, because my father-in-law sent me an email yesterday saying, I don't understand what's going on. I tried to open up 1Password. What is this password it's asking me for? Because he didn't even understand, the Mac App Store and all that. He doesn't do that kind of stuff. And I looked at it going, well, why is it asking him that? Well, go ahead and authenticate. And he did, and it worked.
Okay, that's good.
But his instinct was right, why am I being asked for a password?
This is unusual behavior. And the worst part is this applied most to people who needed security and prevention from doing things weird most. So it was confusing the most confusable, I would think.
Yeah, I think if I'd popped up for me, I would have gone, whatever.
Yeah, and most of my apps I don't get out of the App Store. The ones I do, I don't really. I've turned off the settings that disallow third-party apps and all of that, so I didn't even notice it yesterday. Yeah. Facebook released a new 6-month transparency report about government and law enforcement data requests. Data requests rose 18% over the previous report. Content restricted for violating local laws jumped 112%, but that was mostly because of India. India was responsible for about 74% of those restrictions, with 15,155 requests. No other country had more than 1,000. Facebook received between 0 and 999 national security requests. They're only allowed to report it in those blocks. Thanks to Habituela Condolce for posting this topic to the subreddit.
So I have a question. Do you think that means that more requests were made to India, or India has more restrictions on and more laws that they were trying to violate?
Well, they weren't made to India; they're made by India, and it's a good question whether India's laws about these sorts of things were the cause of it. But one would think the laws didn't, as far as I know, the laws didn't change dramatically. It seems like there's just more of a push for enforcement.
I read that completely backwards. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
All right, Facebook has added support for 360-degree videos, which are really 4-pi Steranian videos, on iOS. Android and the web have had this since September. Facebook will also allow advertisers to use the format. AT&T, Corona, Nescafe, Ritz Crackers, Samsung, and Walt Disney World all have plans to take advantage of this. I think it'd be fun to do Walt Disney in that. Anyway, users can watch videos by tap and dragging on the video, or for a more immersive experience, they can use the Samsung Gear VR. Of note to creators, Facebook launched a microsite to share best practices, upload guidelines, and FAQs.
Yeah, this is a race, man. Everybody's trying to be the home for you to watch 4-pi Steradian videos.
Thank you.
I didn't think this was going to be a thing. Like I tested out a 360 camera a few months ago. It was in the summer, and I just couldn't. Like it was too cumbersome. It was too cumbersome to make work. But I guess if these brands are doing it, they have people who know what they're doing with the camera. I guess it'll be immersive. I just have had no interest in them. But
we're in the phone cameras in 1999 stage of this sort of thing, right? It's going to blow up eventually. Yeah. Samsung announced its Exynos 8 Octa 8890 14 nanometer FinFET processor with a 3D design. That got some chip lovers' hearts racing. Samsung believes the 64-bit ARM V8 design will deliver 30% in performance improvement and 10% better power efficiency compared to the Exynos 7 Octa. You also get ARM's Mali T880 graphics processor and an LTE Release 12 Cat 1213 modem on a single piece of silicon, so it's more compact, gives them more design flexibility. Mass production begins by Samsung later this year.
Just getting better and better.
Yeah, smaller and better.
The Verge reports Google Play Books has added options to make comic book reading better. A scrolling landscape layout for easier reading comes along with new curated pages and organizing options for comics in the Google Play Bookstore. New options should show up in Android over the next few days, with iOS coming later.
Which made me immediately go, there's a Google Play Books app for iOS? I'd forgotten that.
Same here.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So, Google Play trying to steal my comics away. I'm sorry. One of the things I'll be talking about with the iPad Pro, though, is reading comics. Is amazing on that. But I'm a comicsology man. So, just saying. The Verge reports the Tor project believes that Tor was cracked early last year by the FBI with help from researchers at Carnegie Mellon University's Computer Emergency Response Team. In fact, Tor says they've heard that the team received a total of $1 million for the work. In January, attackers created more than 100 new Tor relays and attacked the Tor network, trying to get information, and is succeeding in some cases, between February and July 4th when Tor discovered the vulnerability. Carnegie Mellon researchers had scheduled a talk on breaking Tor at Black Hat in August, but then canceled it after the attacks were discovered. Documents in the government's case, that's coincidence. They didn't say we canceled it because it's the attacks were discovered and they canceled. Coincidentally, documents in the government's case against Silk Road 2.0 staff also lined up with the attacks. Carnegie Mellon told Wired Tor has no evidence for its claims, so they're not admitting anything.
These are not the talks you were looking for.
Yeah, they just canceled, totally unrelated.
Yep. TechCrunch reports internet service provider Rocket Fiber is bringing 100 gigabits per second. Really, 100 gigabits per second internet service. I had to read that twice.
I know.
To downtown Detroit, businesses can get prices by request only, while residents can get 1 gigabit per second for $70 a month, or 10 gigabits per second service for $300 a month. The company has wired up a couple dozen office buildings and several residential ones. They expect to expand to Midtown Detroit in 2016.
People live in Detroit still?
Yes, I was there earlier this year in September. And people do live there.
I was born in Detroit.
Were you born in Detroit? I'd forgotten that.
Yep. Ford Hospital downtown. Get it? I was born in Detroit.
I was born
in Detroit.
There you go.
Detroit's coming back, man. Downtown's got some cool places, interesting folks, very affordable real estate, and now 100 gigabit per second internet.
If it wasn't for the weather, I might have to set up shop there.
Right? I know, man. That's amazing.
Northern Michigan's really pretty. There's a lot of pretty areas there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're actually north of Canada when you're in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's right. Our Netflix will still buffer when we're there, though.
Finally, Tech in Asia reports that Indonesia's Trade Minister Thomas Lambing uses WhatsApp to run his trade ministry. He likes the app because it has end-to-end encryption, which is nice if you're a reform-minded trade minister who happens to annoy powerful business interests and or the Indonesian mafia. Those are words he used. The words Tech in Asia used anyway. That is a look at the headlines. All right, folks. Apple iPad Pro starts at $800 for a 32 gigabyte version, which makes you wonder, like, that's all? Like, where do they put the gigabytes? There's so much room. It is a 12.9 inch screen right?
Yes.
Yep.
So it's a 13-inch screen. We all say 12-inch iPad Pro, but really it's pretty much 13 inches. And this thing is gargantuan. It's expensive. But Tim Cook said earlier this week, and he might be regretting saying this, it's going to replace laptops. Why would you want a laptop? Has it replaced a laptop for you, Allison Sheridan?
Well, since I can't cover it up with my 12-inch MacBook, I guess it's still got some leftover margin. No, I don't think so. I think that was just a bunch of hubris. I don't understand why he said that. That was just to make people find something to be irritated by.
It wrote the headlines for every iPad Pro review this week because they all wrote it in relation to whether it could or could not replace a laptop.
They were going to get a bunch of press anyway. That just made it silliness, I thought. But had I been able to get the keyboard with it, maybe there would be a chance. But I'm terrified to walk around this thing. I mean, we were kidding around earlier about it be looking like a cutting board. This thing is giant. I am terrified I'm going to drop it without a case.
Eileen, my wife, who works at YouTube, I don't know if you knew that, and Veronica Belmont was in town. Were looking at mine yesterday, and they're just laughing. They're like, it looks ridiculous in your hands.
Gigantor.
And you have to use two hands to hold the thing. It is really not a tablet that you carry around with you. You can't operate it with two hands because you can't reach the middle unless you've got gigantic hands. You can't really operate it one-handed. The one thing I do like about it is the keyboard. The keyboard, because it's so big, actually becomes almost usable for me. It was great for reading comics. They look fantastic. Video was kind of, I don't know, it was arbitrary for me. Some iTunes videos like Lord of the Rings looked okay. Others, I was looking at Guardians of the Galaxy, looked amazing. Netflix looked pretty good, but then Vudu just looked okay. So I don't know if that has to do with codecs or if they're not optimized for the screen or what. Lamarr,
Daily Tech News Show looks great on it.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
In Democast.
Lamarr, what was your experience in the first day of use so far?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, if I'm going to go against the it's too big thing, because we said the same thing in 2011 when the iPad came out. Oh, this is just a big, this just a big iPod, iPod Touch, and now people found a use case for it, or the 6S, the 6 Plus being too gigantic. But I will say, I can see, to answer your question, I can see this being a laptop replacement for me if I didn't edit video. If I was not a video editor that needed to hook up my laptop to stream, to like download games and stream gaming gameplay, because that's all I really use my laptop for, is to hook up to the TV to record gameplay. If I didn't have that, I gotta say, it has all the apps I need to get productivity done, and so it's, with that combined keyboard, I can see why Tim said that. For us, we can't comprehend that because we do too much. But the average person, there's a case to be made for it. I will agree with you that I use Marvel Unlimited. Oh my God, it was beautiful. I think they still need to optimize the app, because when you zoom in too close, you can still see the the furriness. The what is it called? Not furriness. You know what?
It was Wolverine. What did you expect?
Thank you for saving me for the Wolverine. I think for gaming, and I have one of these controllers, these Bluetooth controllers. I think once I get that keyboard, imagine traveling, having this in front of you, really nice, beautiful screen while you're traveling, and I can play my games with a little light controller. So I see a use case for that. I also play with Apple News and Twitter on the side most of the afternoon. That was gorgeous experience. But I want to say, Tom and Allison, real quick, because I don't want to be preachy. As soon as I did this, like I was coming for the show, I did this and I held it like this. Something clicked, and I used to be a teacher, and it just hit me. Classroom. I could see a teacher carrying this around with lessons, putting it down on the table for the kids are around, and having them either listen or see what's going on. I worked with special ed and regular kids, and it's large enough now where you can get a table of 4 kids to really see what's going on. I'm not saying that's why they made it, but it just kind of, clicked in my head. And the 4 speakers, everybody gets to hear everything pretty clearly. So I see education jumping on this. I'm interested to see what they do with it.
Flat on a desk, it seems to be good. I loved playing Hearthstone and Skyforce on it. Reading it, did not like it so much. In fact, I find myself not really using the Touch ID for the thumbprint, because it's usually out of reach if I've got it sitting on my lap. But Allison, what did you find so far?
Well, I didn't have an iPad with Touch ID before, and I'm just digging it. I mean, it's just I know I could have had it with an iPad Air 2, but I didn't. So that's transformative to get into 1Password with the touch of a finger. I love that. That's really fun. I thought one of the things I use mine for, in fact, primarily what I use it for is watching video podcasts. And at the risk of getting Tom's head all swole up, in the morning we watch Daily Tech News Show. That's how we get ready in the morning. And then we have lunch and we're still watching it. And you never know, accounting for taste. But we're always pairing and unpairing it to Bluetooth speakers because it wasn't loud enough. Today, we didn't have to do that. We put the Bluetooth speaker away. It's now holding up the rest of the cutting boards. That's where we moved it over to. But it's loud enough. At the full volume, the fidelity gets pretty cruddy. But if you go down about 10%, it still sounds really, really good. So I was pleased with that. I tested a bunch completely unsuccessfully. It's got 4 speakers, so they're sort of on the 2 shorter sides. There's up and down on either side. And the ones on the right are your right channel. The ones on the left are the left channel. You're supposed to be able to turn it 90 degrees, and they switch so that you still have right and left separated. But I guess I don't know if what I was listening to.
It's always putting the high end on top is what is the way I understand it. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not firing out of all 4? I thought it did.
It is, but it's changing when you change the orientation. It changes which speakers are doing what.
Interesting.
But I couldn't tell the difference, so I'm not sure about that. I think the most exciting thing is it comes with a 6-foot lightning cable. 6 feet long.
Yeah,
that's the most exciting part.
It's like the length of the Apple Watch cable, but with a lightning port.
Yeah, on a device you might want to be able to move farther away from the plug. I think it was Macworld had a picture of a woman jumping rope with it. I thought that was great. I also found it interesting that if you look at the specs for the tablet portion of a Surface Pro book, it's almost identical. It weighs the same. It's got the same dots per inch. One is 267, one's 264. I ciphered that up all by myself with the geometry and all. And the screen test is almost the same, 12.9 to 13.5. So they're very, very similar in that. Little bit different aspect ratio. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Not shipping with the keyboard case I think is going to be the death of it, because I'm not going to leave my house with this thing until it's in a case, because it just feels like I'm going to trip and it's going to go flying. I mean, it's probably going to go flying anyway, but maybe it's sticky enough in my fingers in a case. Bluetooth keyboards, I tested a regular Bluetooth keyboard, and it doesn't do the stuff that you can do with the keyboard that actually talks to that dock connector or that dock thingy.
Right, the little dock. Yeah. I heard from the guy who was ringing me up that he thought that they were going to get the keyboards on Friday. So I don't think that'll be the death of it, except for early adopters, right? If most people can go in and buy it with both. But I agree that it is a little weird. It did seem like they were sort of surprised that there was in-store availability for this today. There were no demo units out in the store I was at, although people on Twitter were saying, oh, there were demo units at my place.
Yeah, there were.
They didn't have the roped-off lines like they usually do for people. That said, I was treated great and got my iPad Pro in a reasonable amount of time when I picked it up, so everything went fine. But it did feel like they were like, oh, we're selling them. Okay, well, let's do that then. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a Microsoft event on Tuesday, and it was great because before I even touched this iPad Pro, and they had the Surface Book there, so I was able to play with it. And so that size, as soon as I saw the iPad Pro, I was like, wow, it's almost identical. That was what you were saying, Allison. It's almost identical, and it was the Surface was a really nice feeling book, and I think it's going to be interesting. You know, if you use Windows, you're going to get the Surface Book. If you are in Apple's world, I don't see why you would get the Surface Book. You would jump and get this. I don't see them mixing up.
The advantage to me for the Surface Pro anyway is that you can theoretically run most of the software that you would run on your desktop if you're a Windows desktop user on that tablet. So it's a more seamless experience across. With iOS, you have different operating systems on the different platforms. And I keep accidentally triggering the multitasking when I'm swiping in from the right, and I think that's a bit of a design issue. But when you mean for it to happen, it works well. It's just still not the kind of multitasking I want on a desktop, and the Surface Pro has that. So Surface Pro is a little bigger, it's a little bulkier, but it is more of a powerful machine because of that desktop environment as far as I'm concerned.
They feel like two very different things to me. This is going to sound funny coming from me, but the Surface Pro sounds like a real computer to me.
Yeah, right.
And this isn't a real computer. I did an incredibly scientific sampling. I asked 6 people how
Carefully
many
selected for being nearby.
Exactly, in a forum that I was talking to. If you have an iPad, how often do you use it with a keyboard? And then I asked my Windows friends, if you have a Surface, how often do you use it without the keyboard? And the people with the Surface pretty much hardly ever used it without a keyboard, and the people with the iPad hardly ever used it with a keyboard.
Yeah, I think that's telling. And as unscientific as that might be, I imagine you'd have a pretty good chance of finding that carrying out amongst a larger sample.
That's kind of what I thought. Did you notice there's no mute switch on it?
There's no toggle.
Yeah.
Which you can reprogram that mute switch to be a screen lock.
Right, but it isn't
why
there.
I paused there when you said that. But yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
it's not, unless I'm missing something.
They don't have one there, yeah. I'm trying to think, does the iPad Air 2 have one?
The iPad Air 2, the iPad Air 1 does.
Okay, then I'm assuming it does. It's sitting over there. I just can't reach it right now.
So now are you going to keep both iPads, Lamarr?
I need to have more time with it. I'm thinking there's I don't know what the use case is for me yet. To be honest with you, it's beautiful. I like that. I actually do like reading on it. I need a few more days.
Yeah,
same here.
Actually, more importantly, what I need that keyboard and pencil, because then I could see what the full use case is. Because if it's just going to be a brick sitting like some other Windows laptops that I have sitting around here that I get sent, then I'm just going to send it back. Because my iPad Air 2 works perfectly fine. It never went down. It's pristine. And so we'll see. I need another week.
One of the things I like most about mine is that it works faster than my 3rd generation iPad, but I could get that from an iPad Air 2. So I'm in the same boat where I'm still not sure I need the 12.9 inches, and I might trade it out. We'll see. I want the keyboard first, though. Like you.
I was on the SMR podcast, and your good friends Chris and Rob, say hey, Tom. Chris asked me a really hard question. He said, "Who is this for?" And I
think it's for someone who really likes working in iOS. I have friends who say, I can do everything I want on my iPad, who now can have a larger screen to be able to do even more. Like if you're already in that chute, I think it's for them. And I think there's some other use cases, like Lamarr said, in education and enterprise that might be more specific as well.
I'm going to have to do a hard out, my friends.
Yeah, I know you do, Lamarr. Thank you so much. Twitter.com/Lamarr Wilson, 2 R's in Lamarr, and go subscribe, YouTube.com/Lamarr Wilson. Find out why he has to leave right now.
Exactly. Thank you all so much. Take care.
Thanks again, Lamarr, for joining us. Really appreciate
it. Bye-bye.
All right, let's get to our pick of the day. Mark in Really Feels Like Fall Now, New Hampshire, would like to recommend the 3M Cloud Library. He says it is an audiobook and ebook service that is offered by mine and possibly your local library. It's similar to Overdrive, if you know that from your library, but you have to check out the books through your library's website instead of the application. And for me, this has meant that books that had 10 holds on my library network's Overdrive copy had none on the 3M Cloud Library. The app interface on Android isn't the best, he says, but it works. All the books I've looked at have been available on both platforms, with the availability being higher on the 3M Cloud Library. It's another good resource that your local library likely provides, and it does the job. I also wanted to put in a good word for the book Armada by Ernie Klein.
Oh, I find checking out books through the library on my Kindle really, really hard. Once somebody told me about Overdrive, I could do it, but I could not discover Overdrive on my own. I kept going into my library and going, I'm an idiot. I can't figure it out. I can't find a button to push. Can't figure it out. And this woman at the gym is really low tech. We go, well, Allison, I don't know what your problem is. I do it all the time on my iPad. She was all full of herself. And finally she said the word Overdrive. I said, what's that? So I'll check this out.
Yeah, 3M Cloud Library. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Anthony was responding to the conversation Veronica and I had on Monday about TensorFlow. Said, as you explored in the discussion, when folks do write machinery to run TensorFlow across multiple machines, the Apache license means Google can't stop them. Further, if it was the will of the world A fork of TensorFlow could become more popular than Google's own project. That's a fair point. He says if they were worried about their business, this release strategy wouldn't help them much. I suspect the reason the open source code runs on a single machine is simple because Google didn't want to support a project-specific horizontal scaling mechanism themselves. So it's hardware dependent, in other words. And that makes some sense to me. Thank you, Anthony. Kevin was listening to us speculate yesterday about trading a chicken for an Uber ride in Singapore. He said, after listening to your episode, I kind of want to return to Singapore with that flaming elephant wearing a dress so I can get a ride home from the airport. You have to listen to yesterday's episode to know what we're talking about. And he says, no, us Singaporeans don't have a live chicken tucked under their arms anymore. You're right, we're too urban. Also, I think live fowl were banned from markets due to one of the earlier avian flu outbreaks years ago, so you can only get chilled and frozen ones now anyway. Seriously though, I guess if I were a driver and I'm scheduled to pick up a fare in the vicinity of my favorite Hainanese chicken stall, I wouldn't mind getting them to purchase my lunch in lieu of cash payment. So there you go, in kind. Just buy me lunch. I'll give you a ride.
I thought that was. This is what I love about DTNS is that someone from Singapore will just, oh, here's what it's like.
Yeah, I know. I was very excited to get Kevin's email. And then Jesse used to stream his video in 480p. Speaking of like ask for someone to do something and they write in. He's like, yeah, I used to stream in 480p because of bandwidth constraints. But even now that I have 18 megabits per second internet, I've stayed at 480p. He writes, I find the quality of 480p to be quite good and see little reason to pay an extra $1 or more per episode or movie rental. $1 here or there doesn't sound like much, but when you purchase multiple season passes, the savings can start to add up, usually $5 or more per season pass. I mentioned this to my other cord-cutting friends some time ago, and they were dumbfounded by this, but I simply think of it as an example of the technology being good enough for some people's needs.
There you go.
I, who am mostly a Philistine on these things, kind of shudder at the idea of like, really, 480p? Ah. But
I think it's a really good idea to start looking at everything you're paying $1 for and start adding it up. Steve and I run on the beach, and one day I did the math on what I was paying in the parking meter. I was paying $25 a month to run on the beach. You could be in a pretty nice gym for that kind of money. So we started parking farther away where there weren't parking meters. But it wasn't until I sat down and looked at it, it was only $1. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, $1 didn't seem like much until you start adding them up. So look at all those little micro payments.
It all depends on your income too. If you make $1 million a year, $25 a month is nothing for the convenience of not having to walk if you don't want to. If you make $20,000 a year, that's a big percentage of your income, right?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
But we're getting tricked in all these little monthly things, and take all of that savings and put it into Patreon. Probably.
Do the math. That's what Allison's saying. Do the math. And decide if it's worth it. Jesse was like, you know what? I don't really care for it. He looks fine to me. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. Decide what you care about.
And thank you, Allison, for joining us. Like I said, twitter.com/podfeet to follow Allison on Twitter, and go check out NosillaCast and Chit Chat Across the Pond. You've spawned 2 podcasts out of one now. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is actually huge. I'm excited because you always ask me what's new, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I've been doing the same show for a decade, but now I have something new to announce. Is I have 2 shows, and technically I have 3 shows. Chit Chat Across the Pond was the second half of my regular show, the NosillaCast, and I finally realized it was just getting so long and cumbersome that we split it apart. And actually, the second episode is none other than Tom Merritt on that show. Except I think it's numbered like 419 or something because that's how many chats I've actually done. But we also spawned something else in Chit Chat Across the Pond. Over the last couple of years, Bart Busschots has been teaching me to use the terminal. He called the series Taming the Terminal, and Steve painstakingly went through and cut all the Taming the Terminals out and made it a standalone podcast. So you can look up Taming the Terminal and just get this fabulous 35-part series of me kind of playing the stooge that Bart is teaching. Some of the time I'm faking and I know stuff, but mostly I'm really the stooge. But it's a terrific standalone series, and it's got a full tutorial that goes with it over on Bart's site. But anyway, you can find all that at podfeet.com.
Oh, that's fantastic.
First
Go
time I've
check
had
that out,
something
folks.
new.
podfeet.com. So many new things. Also, the end of the year is upon us, and that means Daily Tech News Show needs your help. Obviously, we need your help making the show happen, and we thank everyone who does at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Your support makes it possible for us to do the show. It may make it possible for us to do a sixth day of the show with Peter Wells from Australia, but we need cheaper and more immediate support as well. Submit the best moments of DTNS 2015, or else we might not have a best of show. It's not a threat. It's just a fact. Go to bit.ly/best of DTNS and add a date and a rough time code based on the YouTube video or the MP3. If you want to volunteer, look at 1 month worth of shows to jog your memory, and just write us with your findings. bit.ly/best of DTNS. We cannot do the best of show without you. Jenny just doesn't have enough time in a day to look at all the shows. So if you help put some eyes on it, that'll help her, that'll help Bryce, that'll help me. Appreciate the help. bit.ly/best of DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com, and visit our website at dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen and Len Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
That was fun. I think the three of us together is really fun.
That was a really good conversation. Yeah, I agree. Oh, look who's here. You'll have to turn up the audio if you want to hear them, because I would keep it down. No, not there. Down at the speakers down there. Veronica's here.
It looked like half of Veronica.
Oh,
There. Now you get some echo.
can't
Wow.
see it.
Turned it up.
I can't see anybody. I don't know.
Oh,
Hi, Veronica.
Hello. How's it going? Hi,
What you
chat
doing?
room. I'm just saying hi. I'm all shiny. All right.
Give them 10 seconds. They'll say hi back.
I said hi right away.
You did. You
Well,
did.
Allison, yeah.
The chat room has to catch up.
Yeah.
They're kind of slow this morning.
All right. Well, I just came by to say hi.
How'd it
Ah,
go?
there they are. W. Scottis saw me. Hello. Goodbye.
Going back upstairs.
Going back
All right.
upstairs.
The dogs followed you, though.
Dogs came. I'll turn on the volume.
All right, thanks.
That's what I heard first. That's who I thought you were talking about.
Hey, gangs. You can stay down here. What should we call this show? Showbot.tv. Siri, remind me in 2035. Those aren't the certificates you're looking for. iPad pros and cons.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, I like that. And my wife works there. 100 gigabit per second, not a typo. Almost makes you want to move. If it weren't for the snow. iPad as big as your head.
Somebody said I was born in Detroit.
I was born ready in Detroit. YouTube. Tom's wife works there. What's the furry thing? Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Makes me want to look at read comics.
Oh, you should.
Oh.
Like, just get a free one from Comixology. They have a bunch. And just try it out, even if you're not a comics person. It's just gorgeous.
iPad Pro, who is it for? It's sad that we have to ask that question, but
Who is it good for?
absolutely. Oh, wait.
Very large-handed people. Like, there's some large hands right there.
That reminds me of when you were back in Illinois and you were in a classroom and you were sitting with your hands like this on the desk. They were just huge.
Oh yeah, because I had the camera also with that wide angle,
Yeah.
which always does that.
And my wife works there.
Django has things to say.
Hi, Roger.
Roger has things to say.
So I just got a virtual.
Oh, Silverblade
private-
was asking about Jenny in the chat. Jenny, she was traveling, then she had a consulting gig, and then today she had an appointment. But she is around. She helped write headlines today. She's fine, and she will be back. Don't worry. She was on once this week already. If you missed that, so I'm sorry, Allison. What were you going to say?
Busy. No, I was just going to blather about my own personal questions. I just switched over to a virtual private server this week, and I suddenly have giant gobs of bandwidth, and I'm toying with the idea of putting my podcast files on my own server. Then I thought if I'm going to move it, maybe I should just put it on archive. Do you really do the audio files on archive.org?
Not for DTNS anymore, because once we hit around 20,000 subscribers, once we got above that, archive started to get a little bit unreliable because it's not meant to hold that many simultaneous requests at once.
Okay.
So right after the show, it would go away for a little bit until the requests had calmed down. So I switched to SoundCloud for DTNS, but I still do archive for my other shows.
What's the advantage of SoundCloud?
Cheap hosting.
Word, but I don't know anything about
They
it.
give you some metrics and stuff too, which is nice to have.
Is it a Libsyn Blueberry equivalent?
No, because it's not really dedicated to podcasting as much as they are.
Okay.
But it's cheap and pretty reliable too.
Okay. I really dislike the Libsyn interface, especially if something goes wrong. The CEO told me, "Well, we don't work weekends."
Oh yeah, I could respect that, but
I guess, but for a paid-for service.
Yeah.
Tinfac, I did it with Bluehost.
Archive also doesn't work weekends, though.
True.
They don't work for you at all.
Yeah.
They're just
but you're not paying them. I'm paying.
No, that's a good point.
Libsyn. The one thing I didn't realize when I signed up for the VPS, though, was that the virtual private server was, I'm the sysadmin now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I'm going to rent me a sysadmin on the side.
You need a virtual private sysadmin.
Yep. Luckily, I know one. Bart.
You got one nearby?
Yeah. Well, in Ireland.
Oh, not nearby.
That's what Bart does for a living.
Yeah. Well,
he says he's going to teach me to do it, which is an appalling idea, Tom.
You know what they say? Teach an Allison to sysadmin, and she'll sysadmin for the rest of her life.
But I'm not careful. I
Give an Allison
look at
a virtual sysadmin, and she'll sysadmin for a day.
It's terrifying.
That's the Bible that says that about sysadmins. VP Sys. All right, I think I'm going to go with iPad pros and cons. It's just subtle and clever and beautiful, and I love it.
All right, sounds good. It is oddly a lot of work to take one show and split it into 3.
More work than it should be, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't sound that hard. I'm not creating new content. But
if you do it right, though, all the work is front-loaded.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the first week I had it to do, I recorded Chit Chat and then forgot to post it.
Oh.
Because it's not what I do. I hold it until the weekend.
Routine. Yeah.
No, I like it. Like if you're on the show, I can send you a link that's exactly to the one thing you're on, and you can, instead of going, okay, well, go past Allison's blather for 32 minutes and then click here. You know, it was so unnatural.
Yesterday, I put the YouTube link in the MP3 part of the template for Daily Tech News Show, and it wasn't till Theater Monkey emailed me later yesterday evening. So if you're wondering why the MP3 was late yesterday,
that's
why.
Yeah. People should yell at us sooner. I've noticed that before.
There was one guy who yelled on TomMerritt.com, which helped me remember to fix it over there because it automatically reposts. But that was it.
I do most of my posting by hand still of all the different places the Twitters, the Facebooks, the YouTubes.
Oh, yeah. No, I automate a lot of that.
Yeah. The spamming?
I have a great plugin that I can't remember the name of now that you can take an RSS feed and then auto post, and I use that on TomMerritt.com for everything.
Oh.
It's meant for people who want to create link farms, I'll be honest. That's really kind of how it's tilted. But it works great for me to take like DTNS and FSL-9 and Cord Killers and just like take those posts and then put them on TomMerritt.com. Yeah.
The thing I'm looking for, so like if I post to Twitter, I want to say, add Ace Detect, but I post over on Facebook, I got to say Tom Merritt. So I always end up having to diddle around with it.
Yeah, that's true. I just allow for a certain amount of inaccuracy in life.
Just get over it.
There's a guy very kindly offering advice on the template for DTNS because it doesn't that default template for WordPress does not fully fill some screens, and I was trying to not sound like a jerk when I pretty much said I don't care.
I don't care.
Because he's right. There's nothing he's saying that's wrong. To me, it's like as long as the content gets across. And he was, it's like, yeah, but some people might listen to the show but won't because they think it looks bad. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. I just have to prioritize the amount of things that I do in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything seems like it doesn't take much time if it's the only thing you're thinking that person has to do.
Right.
It's kind of like those dollars adding up that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I need time to pretend I'm dumb about Star Wars.
So I've made it through 1 through 5. I had actually started to believe that I didn't like Star Wars, and having gone back through in order, I realized it's just because I really disliked 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah.
Once I got to 4, I was having fun again.
So the new episode of Pretend I'm Dumb About Star Wars is up today. It is me talking about Attack of the Clones. And I've always thought that I liked Phantom Menace the least in Attack of the Clones than Revenge of the Sith in that order. Like I liked Revenge of the Sith the best. But after rewatching Attack of the Clones, I was like, wow, this story makes no sense.
Oh, good.
No sense. I only liked it more because it had more action. There's great action scenes in it, but wow.
The plot is too hard. Thank you.
It doesn't hang at all. And so that's the 40 minutes of me on Pretend I'm Dumb About Star Wars, like going like, wait, why are they doing this? Who would think this is a good idea? Also, why is Anakin a jerk? Like, he is mean. It's a little tease. So go to TomMerritt.com.
I like it.
Look for PIDASW if you want to subscribe to that new.
What's amazing is Anakin ages so quickly from the first and the second one.
Well, it's 10 years later.
But Padme looks...
Exactly. Padme doesn't age at all.
She's timeless.
She is. She uses a really good moisturizer.
I think
percentage change, though. Remember, her percentage change in age was only like a third, and his was 50%. So
for sure.
Also, I think it's just like he just basically had all these things he wanted to do, and it's like when you prepare a bunch of ingredients and you realize you don't need them all for a particular dish, you just cram it in there anyway, because what else are you going to do with it?
Well, and the other thing is, because the idea with Pretend I'm Dumb About Star Wars is me trying to forget everything I know about Star Wars and say, okay, what would I think if I didn't know all these things? A lot of the stuff, especially in Attack of the Clones, is pandering. Like, here's the part where Obi-Wan talks about, flying. Here's the part where C-3PO doesn't like space travel. Here's, it's like, if you know the other movies, you're like, oh, that's a cool little wink. But if you're pretending you're dumb about Star Wars, you're like, that meant nothing to me. I get no enjoyment out of that.
And that's a problem with doing prequels the way he did them, is that now your entire vision of what the prequels are colored by the movies that supposedly chronologically come after them.
Which is fine, and some people have said you should be watching them in the order they were released in theaters because that makes more sense, and then that's not wrong. It does make more sense.
Have you heard the concept of watching Star Wars in machete order?
Yes.
I'm going to put a link to that in the chat room. Now that I'm almost done watching them, I want to go back and reread, because I couldn't even remember what some of these episodes were about because I disliked them so much.
What's the machete order?
So the machete order is you're supposed to watch them 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, and never even watch episode 1. That one's not even in
you
the
go
order.
watch the Darth Maul battle scene if you need to watch anything out of episode 1. But otherwise,
I hate to say it, but I really like Jar Jar Binks. I think he's hilarious. So I know that proves I'm not a real Star Wars fan. But this machete order is the guy it goes through explains. It's like 30 pages long, explaining why each one is in which order. what gets removed, why shouldn't you watch episode 1? Why does this work better? It just goes on and on and on. It's pretty funny. I mean, this is taking it pretty seriously.
There's also
Shockingly.
the Phantom Edit, which Topher Grace did, and he has said that he will never release to people, but he has described, and so other people have taken it upon themselves to try to recreate it, and you can find it in the dark corners of the internet. But basically, it takes the Darth Maul fight scene, opens the movie with it, jumps ahead 10 years to the assassination attempt on Padme, and it basically just tries to cut all 3 movies down into one movie that hangs together. Yeah.
I think one of my single biggest things I hated about those middle Star Wars at 2 and 3 in there was the love scene crap. You don't go to see this kind of movie for love scenes. That's not what it's for.
They weren't even particularly good love scenes.
Well, that's the thing. No. If it were a good love scene, I might not mind. But again, I talk about this at length in the current episode of Pretend I'm Dumb About Star Wars, but I don't believe it. I don't believe that love scene at all. There is nothing leading up to it that says, oh, okay, I saw that. You're almost led to believe the opposite based on what you see. Unless you already know that those two will get together and give birth to Leia and Luke, right? In which case, like, well, I guess I'll just make the mental jump. But there really isn't much to like make you believe, oh, right, well, of course these two have had a brewing affection, especially because Anakin was 8 years old the last time you saw him.
Creepy.
That's just weird.
Well, and Padme is not allowed to be married and be in the Senate. But she said, oh, if they ever find out I'm married. Wait, what? You can't be married and be in the Senate? I mean, maybe you can't be a Jedi
no,
and
that's
be
Anakin.
married.
Anakin says that I can't.
No. He says he can't let anybody know, but she says if the Senate were to find out, that would be the end of me or something along those lines.
Well, no, that she was married.
That she had violated the Jedi Code is way.
Okay, that I might allow.
Yeah.
So I personally think that love scenes in action movies should be like Steven Seagal in Fire Down Below. So at the beginning of the movie, he's got his girlfriend there and he locks her in a bathroom, and then the entire movie takes place where this whole mountain blows up because of the fire down below and everything. And at the very end, he runs down. The house is completely destroyed, except of course the four walls of the bathroom are still standing. He rips open the door. She runs out into his arms and he hugs her and he goes, "Pat, pat," and he walks away. That's how much love scene you want in an action movie, in my opinion.
Just make it believable. That's all.
I don't mind a love story. I really don't. Just don't put it in my action movies.
It's not a straight action movie. It's supposed to be an adventurous romp that has elements of action and other things. I mean, it's my biggest complaint again is there was this need to kind of explain everything, like what you were alluding to or saying earlier, Tom. Like, oh, it's a nod to all the people who watched.
Yeah.
All the other movies first. It's like, well, I gotta put it in there so people know why. It's like some things are better left as a mystery.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm out of the post. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. Hey, I am going to be changing the URL of the Patreon from patreon.com/acedetect to patreon.com/DTNS. So if you could send a pre-roll thing that says dailytechnewsshow.com/support at the end. That'll help, because I only got 8 of those little introductory things that don't say the old URL. So just a thought. If you made it this far, watching or listening, I'm assuming you're dedicated enough to maybe try that. See you later, folks.